Thanks for tuning in to watch Coffee, Candidates, and Conversation with the Shelby County Democratic Party. This is a production that we decided to arrange to give voters an opportunity to hear from candidates and learn about their platforms in a one-on-one, up close and personal kind of setting. And we all know that COVID-19 has made our living rooms, our dens, our bedrooms, in many instances, the closest that we are looking to getting in the presence of others. And so we wanted to bring these candidates to your home in a safe way, and also in a way that will give you some deep insight and give you the kind of tools to let you compare the different candidates so you can make an informed decision as a voter. So on today, we have a very special guest, and his name is Larry Pivnick. And for the uninitiated, Larry Pivnick is running to be the next congressman for U.S. Congressional District 8. And so, Larry, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good morning.
And as always, I have to ask, do you have your mug, whatever it is you like to enjoy? Oh, it's a nice mug, nice and big. I've got my Shelby County Democratic Party mug. And well, there's no better way to start the morning than with some good news and information. So we'll kind of kick right in, and I'll ask the first question, Larry Pivnick, and that is, can you tell us something about Larry Pivnick that we would not be able to find if we Googled you, if we went to your website, or if we had an opportunity to work with you in a professional capacity?
Well, many people know that I'm a retired University of Memphis law professor. I was also the legal clinic director and the law school's associate dean for a number of years, 40 years in total. But most people don't know that I was also a licensed public school teacher in the New York City inner city schools before I went to law school, and that I in fact taught a course in Black history as a social studies teacher. Another thing that I have been very engaged in over my lifetime is that I'm a baritone, and I sing in the Memphis Choral Arts Program, which is an interfaith chorus here in Memphis and Shelby County. And I've been singing in choruses ever since I was in high school and college.
Nice. You care to give us about 10 seconds of a baritone?
Well, I'm a rank amateur, so I'll spare you that. In previous years, I had a song that went, "Vote for Pivnick, House District 83, for smart and honest government, pick Pivnick, Tennessee." But no, I prefer not singing any more than that.
Well, it sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty good. Well, now, Larry, we know that when candidates are on the campaign trail, that everything in the candidate's life is about their constituents. And, so candidates are talking about the issues that collectively are most important to the constituents that the candidate is seeking to serve. And so what I'd like to know, well, first, let me ask you to do this. Let's take your candidate's hat off for a moment, and then let's talk as a voter. For Larry Pivnick, the voter, what's the biggest or most important issue that's on the table for you?
Well, the most important issue that's on the table for me is healthcare. We are getting heavy emphasis on this, particularly now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic. We need a United States government from the top, from the president, from Congress, to get their hands around this issue and have a national plan that the president has not come forward with, which can coordinate all efforts like is done in most nations in the world, so that we can attack and eliminate the deadly virus. Attached to that is the need for public health, and I'm a supporter. And I think we need universal health care for all Americans. We do have Medicaid, Medicare, the Affordable Care Act, which was a good start, but we need to have every American covered as far as health insurance is concerned. If you go into a hospital for 3 days, you get a bill for $15,000, even though you've had no surgery. And how does the average American pay for such heavy bills? Of course, number one, we have to make sure that they get the essential health care that they need. I believe that that's a right of all of our citizens. Secondly, how are you going to pay for it when you get those bills? And we must have a plan that covers all of our medical expenses. We can't decide whether we're going to do this type of care or that kind of care. We need to cover, first of all, care, palliative care that prevents you from getting sick. Then if you are sick, our insurance has to be sufficient that pays for all of our expenses without any copays, without any deductibles, without any cap that arbitrarily set limits on the amount that insurance companies will pay, so that we don't move into what's the second big issue for me and for everybody in Shelby County and West Tennessee and in the country, is economic security. We can't live in fear that we're not going to have enough money. We need a system where we'll get our health care, and I think that's of the highest government priority for the common good of all Americans. So those are the two top issues. And also we have the question of social justice. I believe, I've been a law professor for many years, a lawyer for many years. I truly believe in equal justice for all. I support the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm an ally of them. Truthfully, all lives cannot matter unless Black lives also matter. We need to be all inclusive. And I do not want to bankrupt the country. And I do have legitimate plans on how to fund the universal health care and getting us to a point of financial security. Most Americans can't go living on their monthly salaries and get the monthly salaries cut off when they lose their job. And Congress at this moment has before it the question of refunding the weekly payments that the 15% of Americans have or should have been receiving so that they can live with dignity during this terrible virus that we have in our nation. So that's what I'm concerned about as an individual. I think that's what all our neighbors are concerned about. We've got to do something, and Congress needs to do it with the support of a good president.
Yeah, and I have a follow-up question for that. And Larry, could you do me a favor and just push your laptop forward just a little bit?
Oh, my head forward? Or
yeah, well, no, just push the laptop away from you a little bit.
Oh, okay.
That's a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. And so, and I guess turn it to make sure. Yeah, that's good. That's excellent.
Okay.
Now, if I'm correct, I believe the PUA program, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Relief Program, ends on July 31st, right?
It does. It does. And that's why I'm saying they better go to work this week. And our congressmen and our senators have to provide assistance, not for the big corporations, for the big banks, for the big insurance companies. It has to be, in my mind, given to the workers, the middle class, and the needy in our country. We have to have coverage for everybody, not just the wealthiest of Americans. So that's where I would put my emphasis from on the people. Some of the plans that Congress has put together so far is giving money to the employers who take out 40% to cover their business losses, the 60% less, and they should be providing it to their employees. I don't know why we need a middleman. I would support the money being sent directly to the people in the country.
And so now, help me understand this. Now, I believe the HEROES Act that's the piece of legislation that was going to deal with the second wave of funding to cover or to provide pandemic relief.
Well, it's supposed to. The question. They put so many names on these acts. It's hard to follow exactly what's going on with them. But the question seems to be how the money that's being provided by Congress. By the way, so far it's been $3 trillion. Our national deficit has gone up tremendously. But I think that in times of an emergency, in a war, let's say, or when you have a pandemic, that justifies making payments of larger amounts than you would usually make. But it's how does it get distributed to the people? And I want it to be distributed to the working people, the needy in our country, without it having to be picked apart by money being given to the corporations and others.
Okay, well, let's do this. I know that as a congressman, you're going to be facing or trying to balance the local needs of a District 8, which is, of course, you can't think about District 8 without thinking about District 9. But you have to balance the local needs of District 8. You have to balance that alongside the needs of Tennessee, and you're balancing that alongside the needs of the country. So right. I'm just going to put an issue on the screen, and when you see it, you just tell me, I guess, the first thing that comes to mind and your perspective on that issue. If there's something that you'd like to add in terms of a solution or a way to address that, certainly feel free to add that in. And we have a few of these, so let's try to. We'll call this like the 1 minute bullet round for each one, just to see what your thoughts are on it. Okay, so this first one is a big one in Tennessee.
Oh, you want me to respond?
Yeah, tell me first thing.
I understand. I oppose the heartbeat bill. I'm a strong advocate of pro-choice. I think it's up to a woman to decide in consultation with her doctor as to what she's going to be doing with a pregnancy. I believe in life very much, but I also believe in liberty. And a woman does have the right to choose. Now, the heartbeat bill would prevent the woman at a very early stage of her pregnancy from making that decision. And I think it's an infringement on a woman's constitutional rights to liberty and to privacy as recognized in Roe versus Wade. And as long as that's the law, bills like this, heartbeat bills, are unconstitutional. And I'm sure the courts will find that. I didn't like the way that the bill was passed in the middle of the night off in Nashville. That's for our state bill. And I would never vote for a heartbeat bill in Congress if it came to Congress.
Okay. Next
I do believe life's precious. I understand that.
Yeah. And of course, that's
when
I think one of the craziest parts about that is that if you're a young lady and you're carrying a child that's the product of a rape or of incest,
exactly,
there's not an exception even in the bill for that.
Right, and a woman and her doctor would be charged criminally if a life was terminated if we're going to call it that, with no exceptions whatsoever. And there may be many reasons. The health of the mother is one that must be considered. Her life matters too.
Okay. Well, let's pick another issue. Here we go.
Poverty.
Yes.
Poverty needs to be acted upon with due speed and deliberation. Nobody should have to live in poverty in the greatest country on earth. I support strongly any food stamp program, housing program, shelter programs that would allow every individual to live with dignity. We must fight it. And so that's my general position. In a country as great as ours, the first thing we need to do is live with dignity and respect all people's rights.
Yeah, and of course, you know, in Shelby County and in the southern states, I think more so than in other parts of the country, poverty definitely is like a plague, you know, and there are so many statistics that are out there to talk about students who live in poverty and students who are who suffer from food insecurity, whose parents can't provide for them, and and I bring that up because I want to know what your thoughts are on the efforting of Betsy DeVos and Donald Trump to threaten the funding for school districts, or at least to develop some type of way to relieve, or I guess reduce or shorten the range of dollars that will be made available to support school districts who are making the transition to virtual learning in response to COVID-19.
Right. Well, the president is playing politics when he's interfering with the educational rights of our students. The health of our students is extraordinarily important to us, and so is the health of our teachers who go into work every day. They're underpaid. They're not often respected as much as they should be. We can't endanger the health of our teachers. And by suggesting cutting off funds for schools if they don't reopen, it's just not right. If people want in their liberty rights to keep their children at home, to keep them safe, if the teachers want to be able to distance teach, to keep themselves safe, then I would oppose any cutting off of school support. The federal government does not have in our separation of powers between states and the federal government, the federal government should not be taking over the school systems. But the federal government can provide money to the states, and the states can provide those monies to their local school districts, as they've done for years, to help promote the general education of the nation. And I consider education an essential right of everybody who is in the United States. And I would support funding, increased funding, starting from pre-K right up through high school, on to college. I believe in free public education, and the federal government can provide funding to our state universities. My district, the University of Memphis, the University of Tennessee at Martin, Lambeth, part of University of Memphis, that's in Jackson, and all the other state universities. To give credit to Republicans to some extent, they have made education in junior colleges free of tuition. I think that should be further extended to senior universities. I believe that we should have funding for technical schools and other type commercial schools and other specialty schools, so that every person, regardless of which field they go into, can get a free education and not have to start their adult lives with overwhelming debt.
Mm-hmm. And would you support an initiative to extend that reach to HBCUs?
Okay, to whom? I'm sorry.
Historically Black colleges and
Oh,
universities.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
No question about it. Lemoyne Owen is not in my district, but I'm in District 8. I live in East Memphis. I'm not living in one of the 7 villages and the unincorporated areas in Tennessee. But I plan to work in a caucus with our congressmen in the area and provide funding for all of our schools. It's essential. And if I have anything to say about it, it will be done.
Well, this is the perfect segue, because we know that one of the challenges that any particular locale could face when trying to attract new jobs is the challenge of being able to deliver a competent workforce to basically handle those jobs.
Absolutely.
And incentivize new industries coming to that area. So what about economic growth in District 8, which we know has some rural areas? And one thing that I think a lot of people who aren't exposed to that kind of information, or at least the issues that rural communities face, one thing that people don't know is that poverty doesn't just strike in the city. People don't often realize that foreclosures and the ability to afford a reasonable place to live in, that's an issue in rural communities, and housing is a problem there. Finding employment is a problem, and even if you are you're a farmer, you have an issue there, because you have the surplus, the stuff you're not selling, and then stuff that goes bad that you don't have even a way to move that product. And there are just a lot of challenges. What are your thoughts on economic growth in District 8, having both a city pool and a large rural area?
Right. Well, our district, demographically, we've got a couple of large areas. 200,000 Shelby Countyans live in District 8, out in Germantown and Collierville, Arlington, Bartlett, parts of Millington, Lakeland, and so forth, and Millington, the unincorporated areas. And we have about 100,000 people who live in Jackson, and then most of our other towns are not more than 10 or 12,000 people, and many people do live in rural America. So economically, we have to, in our district, cover a lot of areas, and yes, the rural people are very important. So we need to increase funding for, as you mentioned, housing and jobs in the outlying areas. Poverty is not a Black issue alone versus white issues and others. It's an issue that everybody is facing. So we've got to assist people. We've got to make loans available to people who are in need, or outright pay them to pay for their, if they can't afford otherwise, to assist them with food and housing, clothing, and then we have a lot of small business people, small farmers, and they're not able to get loans. The loans tend to go to the large farmers, and of course they should be given some assistance as well, not placing arbitrary tariffs on products that are being exported overseas. But for the small farmer, a lot of people own land, but they can't afford to farm. They can't afford to take out loans to get sufficient equipment and seeds and fertilizers and insecticides, pesticides, and so forth. So we need to have a new generation of farmers encouraged to go into farming. We are blessed in West Tennessee in many ways. We have some of the best land. We've got rivers crisscrossing, not just the Mississippi River and the Tennessee River and lakes, but we've got rivers crisscrossing east to west Tennessee. We need to, we're an agricultural force. When California runs out of water, I view West Tennessee as being the new California. As far as we can grow anything in West Tennessee. It doesn't have to be in mass production. You don't need 5,000 acres. There are developments in science that would help the small farmer. We're growing hemp now. Hemp can be used for many medicinal reasons. It can be used for the essence of it can be used for medical treatments. I would favor an extension of allowing the use of marijuana for medical purposes, and I'd be open to considering its use for other purposes as well. But that would be an economic boon to people. They could have 1,000 or 100 acres or 50 acres or 25 acres and grow productive products. There's hydro farming that can be done. There's all types of farming. And we've got the University of Tennessee in Martin, which has an agricultural program. I'd extend that program as much as possible, get funding from the federal government. Why shouldn't Martin, Tennessee and West Tennessee, with all its great land, be put to use? And that would benefit the economy of West Tennessee. We have to have broadband expanded. There are people who live in our county who are not getting the best internet coverage. No excuse for that. And that would help with distance education when we need it. It would help even when the COVID virus is over. I support a local school in every town, at least kindergarten, pre-K through 6th grade. And if the teachers need supplementation, that can be with the old Learning with Sesame Street and other types of programs that would not take the place of our rural schools, but can supplement them. Our environment, West Tennessee wasn't developed until 1820. It was the Chickasaw Nation's land. It was slow to develop in many areas. We have the cleanest water, the clearest air, appropriate, adequate rain. If there's organic farming, that could utilize all of our God-given gifts and move us forward in that area. We've got a mega center. I know I'm talking long here, but I don't.
No, we're fine. I'm just sort of taking some notes here, and I want to throw a couple things out. I think he sort of also touched on a lot of environmental sustainability type issues or opportunities to use smart ways to utilize your I guess smart ways to be successful in the agricultural industry and to limit the resources that we're using to be productive in those areas. So saving the planet while we're getting the job done and getting what we need out of our agricultural resources and just generally. But you stepped on a big button that I'd like to hear you speak on, and that is, with COVID-19, schools across the country are gearing up to go virtual. You have teachers who are lining up to begin to protest because of what's happening with Donald Trump and Betsy DeVos threatening to decrease federal funding, at least that portion of it as it relates to education. But you talked about broadband infrastructure. What is happening with the public school systems outside of Shelby County that have this weakened or lack thereof in general broadband infrastructure are there what's happening with the school districts there?
Well, like with many other issues, we are having less and less competition among companies to provide different internet services. It's not considered to be economically sound by some of the big companies to have to run lines into rural areas where we have schools. And we need, if the individual company, well, first of all, we shouldn't allow all these mergers to keep taking place because they're antitrust violations in that process. But to the extent that private businesses are allowed to choose who they want to serve and not serve, that's where government needs to step in and regulate these companies and tell them that it's their responsibility. Yes, we have capitalism, but part of capitalism requires companies to act in the public good. That applies to communications industries, and they should be required to provide broadband coverage throughout the state, including the rural areas. And if they don't, then it's the function of the government to provide those services that the private industry has chosen not to. That's why government is for the common good. Or a few people shouldn't be choosing what services people can have. We don't do that with fire. We don't do that with safety. We don't do that with having public libraries and the building of highways. That's all within the public interest. Government needs to step in, and I would support the providing of funds to the states so that those types of things can be done. And if the states refuse, if Governor Lee and others refuse to extend Medicaid, which we're losing over $1 billion a year because the state is so obstinate in accepting money that's provided, I believe the federal government should provide that. And if the states won't take the money, we should give it to the counties. And if the counties won't accept the money, we should give it to the towns and let the science that we have and the ability that we have branch out into all of our counties, our towns, our rural areas. And we can do that. Congress can, with the approval of the president.
Well, now to the big question. Looking at District 8, from your through your lens as a U.S. Congressman, representative for that district, what do you see as the greatest strength of your district? Where do you see the biggest weakness? What is the biggest opportunity that you feel is available and that you could take advantage of? And then what do you see as the single biggest threat to District 8 moving from where it is today to where it can be tomorrow?
Okay, well, let me start with the weaknesses for a moment, because I think we have a lot of strengths. The weaknesses involve our closing or having closed almost all of our hospitals in West Tennessee. Yes, we do have a lot of hospitals here in Shelby County, and there's one in Tipton County, but we have seen the closing of hospitals in Fayette County. We've seen the hospital in McKenzie, which is a city in the three of our counties, up in Henry County, Carroll County, and Gibson County. That one has closed. There's a threat to the hospital in Ripley. It keeps opening, closing, opening, closing. We have seen, I didn't mention it already, the hospital in Brownsville has closed, and we have to have hospitals if we're going to be progressing economically in our nation. It's a long ride when you have a heart attack to have to get in an ambulance or a helicopter and be taken to Jackson or to Shelby County. We don't have enough doctors in West Tennessee. The University of Tennessee does not train enough doctors. Most of Vanderbilt's doctors leave to go to other states. We need to have more doctors trained, particularly in primary health care. And I would like to see another medical school opened in West Tennessee, be it at Jackson, in the Union City, Martin area, connected with the hospital in Union City. And
is that like that's an opportunity? That's one of the opportunities?
Yeah, I see that as an opportunity, and I would seek funding for that. Similarly, I would seek funding for UT Martin to have its own veterinary school. They have a pre-vet program, but they need a veterinary school. They need a medical school up there, which can generate more doctors and maybe provide some incentive. You come to this school, we'll train you. You go back to rural Tennessee, West Tennessee, work for 10 years, and you won't have to pay anything for your medical school expenditure. If that doesn't work, and in the meantime, I would like to see the full use of physician's assistants and nurse anesthetists and other nursing specialties, nursing practitioners being allowed to perform medical functions that they have been trained to do. We should extend licensure abilities, license some of these non-medical doctors who have been trained to open an office with perhaps a contact with the doctor in cases of necessity and review, and allow them to open offices throughout the county so that there can be health care expended. I'd like to see nurses and social workers and dietitians and so forth assigned to the public schools so that we can get out palliative care when we see that there is a need. We can cut short the need for expensive medical procedures in the future by getting in at the ground level to assist people. So medical care is one of our weaknesses.
I feel like you're giving up the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But what about those things that you're saving for us on the strengths?
Okay, the strengths. We have, I mentioned earlier, the best environment possible. Why people would want to move to West Tennessee to start a business, clean air, clean water. We can develop wind power in Gibson County. We can develop solar power from many of our counties. We're blessed with natural resources in our county that don't exist in most other places. We have a mega center that's my Brooklyn accent, excuse me. We have a mega center that is located in Brownsville that can accommodate almost any kind of industry and employ 4,000 or 5,000 people, like we've seen in other areas of Tennessee that the governor has supported. And we can bring in a big industry and multiple industries or smaller industries if we have the healthcare support that people will want to take advantage of. We have the educational opportunities throughout West Tennessee, and we can build upon those. University of Tennessee and Martin and the University of Memphis, my school that I taught at for so many years, we can compete with anybody. And our students can come to school here at lower costs than in most other places. And so I consider that to be the strength of our area. We also, I would like to say, have the nicest people. That is our strength, our social capital. Our people care about each other. They're loving. They are people of faith. They love their families, their extended families. They're not going to move anywhere else. They're proud of being Tennesseans. They're good workers. They're respectful. Come in. We will make and do whatever you want to be done, and we can compete with anybody.
I love that, Larry. And it's always refreshing when you run across a candidate who truly does have an affinity and an appreciation for the area that they're seeking to represent. And so that's very refreshing. And I think you have some really good ideas, and especially in the sense that the weaknesses and threats are inversely, or I guess directly and inversely connected to your strengths and opportunities that you've outlined. So it sounds like it's something that's workable.
Can I mention one other strength,
Yes.
which has been ignored by the Republicans for the last 10 years, that they have had District 8's seat in Congress. We are located in the center, smack dab in the middle of the Great Mid-America Highway. That has been, it's posted, that's I-69. It is completed from Windsor, Canada, right where Detroit is, all the way down through Indiana, and it's almost, if not completely, completed in Kentucky, and it runs to Union City, and it stops. And it doesn't start up again until it gets down to Millington. And that road continues all the way down to Houston, and we'll be tying Mexico together. We're in the middle of the Great Mid-American Highway, I-69, and we have done nothing to complete the Tennessee link between the Union City, Dyersburg area down to Millington. That must be completed. What is going on? Why won't they appropriate the money to complete that? The state's not cooperating. The federal government is not including in its appropriations budget. If we can complete that highway and be in the middle of it, we will greatly expand our trucking industry and our jobs. And FedEx is the distribution center of the world, and airlines. And we can be the center of the Canadian, U.S., Mexican trade agreement highway. So that needs to be completed, as well as other things. We have Cape Landing, which is a port that is located in Lake County, a port on the Mississippi River. All they have to do is extend that port to the highways and the railroad lines, and yet they've stopped construction there. So the railroads can have another place where they can pick up unloaded goods and put them on trucks and have them move up and down the highway. So that's another one of our unutilized strengths that needs to be completed. And I would do everything to get that included in appropriations bills.
Okay, well, now we're at the time where we have to wrap it up, and so I'm going to say a couple things, and then I'll give you the last word to close us out with you get a minute at the very end to tell the voters why they should vote for you, and to give them many other instructions that you'd like to share. And so first, I want to say to everybody who's watching, it is very important that we come to our senses and take the census. We need to participate and be counted, because our participation impacts the way our district lines are drawn, which in turn affects how our distribution of leaders will be. We want to have a very diverse and reflective base of leaders, and we need our district lines to be accurately drawn to reflect the population here. And we want to also make sure that every dollar that's supposed to come to Tennessee gets here. and that every dollar that's supposed to then come to Shelby County makes it to Shelby County so that our community can have all of the resources that are available for us to move Shelby County and the city of Memphis forward. Next, I want to talk about voting. Everyone can make a difference, and one vote can be the difference. It is critically important that everyone watching and at least tell 10 people that you know after hearing this that you participate in the electoral process. It is our responsibility to make sure that we elect leaders that will keep the best interest of their constituents in the forefront of their minds, that they will engage the constituents. We need leaders who will do that. And we need leaders who will make the tough decisions, even when they're not the popular decisions, with those around them. And those tough decisions are usually the ones that are at the best interest of the people. And oftentimes, elected officials don't make the tough decisions that are in the best interest of people when it matters most. Understand this: if you have requested an absentee ballot, please be sure that you send that absentee ballot in. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is July 30th. Okay, so your request for the absentee ballot must be in the hands of the Election Commission by July 30th. If you have requested a ballot and have not received it, please call the Election Commission and email the Election Commission and make sure you get that ballot. If you do decide to go to the polls, understand that you will not be able to cast a vote in the regular sense. You will only be able to vote by provisional ballot, which means that your vote may or may not be counted. So be responsible on this, pay attention, and make sure that you get your absentee ballot if you've requested one. And if you plan to get out and vote as soon as possible. All right. Early voting has started. It started July 17th and extends through August 1st. And election day is August 6th. And so I want to share some information with you real quick. Larry Pivnick, our guest for today, you can find out more information about him by going to www.pivnickforcongress.com. And the website is at the bottom left corner of the screen. And you can contact the Campaign for Larry Pivnick at 901-279-1119. You can also find him on Facebook, and you can find him at www.facebook.com/LarryPivnickTN. So check him out and visit his website and do your research as we work through all of the candidates who are running so that you can be informed and make the best decision possible for District 8. And so, Larry Pivnick, in the last minute, we are going to hand it over to you to tell the voters why they should vote for you and to bid us adieu.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this forum with me. Again, my name is Larry Pivnick. I'm a progressive populist Democrat who's running for the United States Congress for Tennessee's 8th Congressional District. I'm running for Congress because I'm fed up with politicians who lack the commitment and the courage to do what's right for the common good of America's working and middle classes and for its needy residents. I support universal health care, economic security, including fair living wages, social justice, and the rule of law. I believe in the core principle that no one should face discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, language, religion, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability status. I'm also a strong supporter of public education, environmental and consumer protection, and in taking care of veterans, seniors, and the disabled. I'm also an active ally of Black Lives Matters, Moms for Gun Sense, and the women's rights movement, and I'm a strong supporter of Israel's right to exist and defend itself. I'm Larry Pivnick, and I approve this message.
Thank you so much, Larry Pivnick, for joining us today for Coffee, Candidates, and Conversation. We are so excited that you have taken this time out of your schedule and we look forward to hearing more great things from you. So with that being said, have a great day. Enjoy the remaining weeks of your campaign, and we wish you good luck.
Thank you.